What's up, you absolutely wonderful Magento loving friends of mine? Joseph from SwiftOtter here with another question to prove your expert status. This week, I strayed outside of the dev-only lines, kind of, but not really. Let's talk about this question and see what is perhaps the right answer here. This is to prove your expert knowledge. Take a look at this. Your project manager has called you into a meeting with the client as your expertise is needed. This could be good or bad. I've been there both ways. Let's see what the issue is here. They are finding that products in child categories are bubbling up to the parent category. They are concerned that this represents a poor user experience. Question: how do you suggest they resolve this issue? Folks, this is a legitimate question, and it's definitely, it can be an issue. And it comes back to either a misunderstanding of Magento knowledge or maybe a misdesign on the original Magento part, but I kind of hesitate to think that's the case. So it really comes back to not fully understanding Magento or understanding how to tweak this a little bit or what settings are available. Let's see what our answers are here. So number 1, turn off the anchor mode in the respective categories. Option 2, disable the include child product setting in store configuration. Or C, this requires a customization to the category product indexer. Which of these answers is correct? And let's talk through each one individually. So turn off the anchor mode in the respective categories. Now this would work, but it comes with a nasty side effect. You see, the anchor mode in the categories actually controls two things. First, yes, it does aggregate child products up to the current product level. It absolutely does that. You were right. But it also turns on layered navigation. So if you turn it off, you're also losing layered navigation, which is pretty important for most merchants. It's kind of like this child product aggregation thing is like a secondary feature. It's like a feature of it. Is another part of this, which is that good or bad? So A is unfortunately not the correct answer. B, disable the include child product setting in the store configuration. Now, I wish this existed. And if it does exist, let me know where it exists, because I haven't seen it yet. But all that to say, it doesn't exist. So as much as I wish that this existed, it doesn't. So we're kind of down to process of elimination, which means that if I can find my mouse here, means that this is the correct answer. This requires a customization to the category product indexer. Now, you're noticing that some of these questions are becoming a little more practical. Test questions have a unique constraint in that they are only about ensuring this is hyper relatable. So you can find this in documentation somewhere. There's nothing subjective about this. And thus, in my experience, you should not have a correct answer ever on a question that says this requires a customization. It might be true, but that could be ultimately subjective. So in this case, we can say that finally for these type of questions. So look at this. It requires a customization to the category product indexer. What we really need to do is divorce the anchor functionalities, layered navigation from the child product aggregation. Once we make that divorce, we are good to go. Now, the question is that you might be thinking is, where would I find this type of a solution, or like where would I even start to do something like this? Well, I got you covered here. So in the module catalog, we can click on this little, actually you can't see it in the screen. Let me drop this down here. You can see this little target icon. Just click that target and it pulls up the model indexer category product abstract action, which this is a little bit deep in the system to just like throw a plugin on it. There probably is a way, and let's take a look here really quickly. But this is the method called reindex anchor categories that is going to kick this all off. And this is what's really important to understand. This is where all the products are aggregated simply because of this anchor category feature. So we have this get anchor category select. All of this is kind of deep in the system. So it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you ultimately can override it with either a actual, like a composer patch. That is one option. Another option would be to see where in this journey you can intercept it, if there's any possibilities here. But ultimately, since this is an abstract action, it might be a little difficult. But remember, with an abstract action, you always have the capability to go and see what extends this. So we have like our category product action rows, we have a full, and there might be opportunity within these to override those queries and to be able to separate that out. At the end of the day, this does require customization. I'm not going to put this at a beginner level customization. It's going to take some effort to do it right. Ultimately, again, the easiest is a composer patch. If you do a composer patch, make sure it's very well documented as far as what's going on, why you're doing this. Document in the code. As I talked about last week, I use a SwiftOtter added as a flag that you can easily search through and find. You can also document the ticket number, what you're changing, why you're changing this, full reference right there in the body of the code. Don't feel like you have to mince or reduce the number of the verbosity of what you're doing. Be very verbose exactly what you're doing and why if you're going to use a composer patch. And that probably is ultimately the easiest or the best solution overall in this type of a scenario. There's just not many points to hook in when it comes to the category product reindexer. There's just not a lot of options right there. So ultimately, all that to say, you need to check in this and then do some testing to make sure at the end of the day that you cover all the bases. I believe that is everywhere that you need to do. But, indexers in Magento are a little bit complex. So just do a little extra double checking to make sure that saving a product doesn't cause problems. Saving the category, it works well. Perhaps even through the API specific store views. There's a number of points to test there. But at the end of the day, this should be all that is required to make this customization. Again, to take away the anchor setting on a category, to remove the layered navigation aspect from the child product aggregation aspect. So there is your knowledge bite for the week. I hope you found it helpful, and let's talk next week again.